Hey everyone, it's Argonath here from The Right Way, and I've come across an article about Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos being absolute hypocrites about climate change, as pretty much all the elite people are. Just look at all the elites in Hollywood and so on. The actresses and actors keep telling us that we need to change our ways to save the planet, do more for climate change, blah blah blah, but they're still flying around in their private jets, going around in their private limousines and all that kind of stuff. They are absolute hypocrites. But let's have a look and see what Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos has actually said about climate change. So this is an article about Bill Gates' book on climate change. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but we can go through his 5 main points. Poor countries will be hit hardest. So basically, the climate is changing in ways that will be problematic for relatively well-off farmers in America and Europe, but potentially deadly for low-income ones in Africa and Asia. Well, I think you have billions and billions and billions of money, Bill Gates. I know you have a foundation, but why don't you just pay a lot of those billions to these poor countries rather than spending it in your rich countries? Maybe you could do some of that, Bill Gates. The second main point: innovation and massive investment will help us to develop clean technology. I actually agree with that. That sounds good to me. So, yep, if you can invest in technology that will produce green energy sources and things like that, I certainly don't have a problem with that. So that's a good point as far as I'm concerned. Let's go to point 3. Governments must implement policies to encourage green living. Private companies cannot be the only ones doing the work to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions. Governments need to change and implement policies to encourage innovation and clean technology. Basically, the governments need to tell people how to live their lives so that they only use green and clean technology. So I certainly do not agree with that. Government should not tell us how to live our lives. You should be producing things that encourage us to use your products which make use of green and clean technologies. And if you make it very useful and affordable, then people will just naturally use it. You don't have to force us to do it. You need to make stuff which will allow us to use it. Number 4 is the biggest one in my book. We need to get comfortable with change. One of the biggest points made is that fossil fuels are everywhere, as are processes that result in copious amounts of greenhouse gas emissions. To truly combat climate change, everyone in the world need to change their mindsets and behavior. So just remember that. Everyone in the world, including Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and everyone else, needs to change their mindsets and behavior so that you're not emitting tons and tons of carbon. And the last one is we need to talk to everyone we know. So blah, 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 just go on peddling out your stories. So that's what Bill Gates has said. Remember that point I talked about before. Everyone needs to change their mindsets and behavior. Let's have a look at what Jeff Bezos has. There was an article about how Bezos is stressing climate change, but Amazon promotes books saying climate change is fake. Now, I don't have a problem with that because you shouldn't be suppressing the voice of other people just because you don't like their viewpoint. If it incites violence, then of course, then that kind of stuff should be suppressed. But if it's all, there's no violence incited, then it's free speech. Everyone can be allowed to say what they want. But let's have a look at what Bezos said. So soon after Jeff Bezos returned from the edge of space, the billionaire turned astronaut delivered a warning to everyone he'd briefly left behind on Earth. We live on a beautiful planet, Amazon Inc.'s founder and until recently chief executive said on Tuesday. When you get up there and you see how tiny it is, how fragile it is. We need to take all heavy industry, all polluting industry, and move it into space, he added, and keep Earth as this beautiful gem of a planet that it is. Now, the rest of the article just talks about how Amazon is stressing climate change and the books that he sells, which also deny climate change. So I'm not going to go into that, but just be aware he has made things about we need to keep the Earth beautiful and reduce all our pollution and stuff. So how do we tie these things together? So there's a new article on the Daily Mail. And these two climate change warriors part of the ruling elite class, have done stuff which they're telling us not to do, but they're quite happy to do it. So let's have a read. So, guess the climate change rules don't apply to them. Outrageous billionaire eco-warrior Bill Gates flies Jeff Bezos and 50 guests in helicopters to Turkish beach resort from his $2 million a week yacht for his 66th birthday. Well, I'm sure he's taking good care of the environment there, Bill Gates. What did you say? Everyone in the world needs to change their mindsets and behavior. Did you really need to fly everyone off somewhere for a 66th birthday? You could maybe have just held a very nice one at a place which is easy to get to, and you don't have to spend too much fuel and carbon to get to that particular location. So let's have a read of how hypocritical Bill Gates is. Bill Gates invited fellow billionaire Jeff Bezos to his birthday bash in Turkey. Gates, who's worth $136 billion. So yeah, you could give some of those to those poor countries, Bill Gates. I'm sure it wouldn't go amiss. Transported 50 guests by helicopter. So 50 guests were transported by helicopter. I don't know how many flights that will be, but I think it's later on in the article. From his rental yacht, Lana, to the See Me Beach Club in Fethiye. If I spelled that correctly. Now, I don't have a problem with him being rich or Jeff Bezos being rich. They worked hard. They had a bit of luck, and they were able to grow their businesses into billion-dollar companies. Don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with your hypocrisy. That's what I have a problem with. So if you want to hold a big birthday bash, go for it. That's perfectly fine by me, but don't go telling the rest of us how to live our lives when you don't follow your own rules. He invited the world's second richest man, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, who is worth $195.5 billion, to celebrate the day with him and his friends. So Jeff Bezos, worth $195.5 billion. Obviously, that's not all cash. It's what his net worth is. But he set up a $1 billion fund to give out to green technology companies and things like that. Out of $195 billion, his net worth, he gave out $1 billion. So doing really well there. So guess and Joe, we don't really care what they guess. Both Gates and Bezos have spoken in the past about the need to combat climate change and reduce carbon footprint. Exactly. The Blue Origin founder is said to have made the 120-mile round-trip journey by chopper from Govoka to the resort town. The jet fuel used to power helicopters emits 21 pounds of carbon dioxide per gallon burned. Both Bezos and Gates are reportedly staying on super yachts, each of which emits 7,020 tons of carbon dioxide per year, or 19 tons per day. So maybe you should sell your super yacht, Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, or not rent them if you're renting them. Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos were slammed as hypocrites. Of course they would, because they are hypocrites, for lecturing the world on the need to combat climate change by reducing carbon footprint, while at the same time reportedly vacationing on super yachts off the coast of Turkey. Multi-billionaire, so it talks about that. Bezos was among the 50 guests invited to Gates' private party beside the Mediterranean. It's not clear whether any of Gates' family helped him celebrate at his exclusive bash. So it talks about, emitting 21 pounds of carbon dioxide per gallon burned. Helicopters travel approximately 10.75 miles per gallon. So they probably spent a lot of fuel and a lot of carbon was emitted, Bill Gates. Based on the estimates, Bezos' helicopter emitted some 215 pounds of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Bezos, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that. You should only be keeping the earth as a jewel. You shouldn't be emitting like that when you're telling the rest of us not to emit. So go down. Is there any other things to the article? So social media users reacted with fury, noting that Bezos and Gates were contradicting their own statements about the need to tackle thing. Sick and twisted for a 66th birthday party, one Twitter user who accused him of having a do as I say and not as I do attitude. Normally I don't care what the Twitter users think, because they're normally left-wing nut jobs, but some of these I do agree with, so some of them do have some common sense. The horrendous energy wasted Bill Gates makes his contribution to CO2 reduction for his 66th birthday by having his fat body transported by his own yacht and then by helicopter to a certain place. Guess the rules don't apply to them. More people who will be bashing the rest of us again for next week about climate change. These are the people putting us in our place and lecturing us about the so-called climate crisis. Exactly. They're all absolutely hypocrites. So after the party, Bezos was reported to have returned by helicopter to his yacht, Flying Fox, docked at Gavoka. So he flew there on his helicopter and then flew back again. So just more stuff about the Twitter users and so on. So that's it. I don't need to go into any further. We can see that when the elite class lecture us working class people and middle class people about climate change and what we have to do to stop climate change, just remember they are rank hypocrites and they never do what they say. They want us to do what they say, but they are happy to carry on doing what they want, flying around in their private jets and their private yachts and so on. Good on them. They work and earn their money for that. I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with them telling us to how to live our lives when they're not following exactly the same rules. Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? They're rank hypocrites. If you don't agree with me, I'd love to know in the comment section as well. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, you're welcome to give it a thumbs down. And please subscribe if you haven't already, because it just helps the YouTube algorithm to notice my content. And hopefully I will catch you in the next video.